Hey y'all, do you have a kettlebell or a steel mace at home and that's the only equipment you have and you're wondering how to build your lower body with very beginner friendly movements? You're in luck. That's what we're going to talk about today. I wanted to break down my favorite 5 very beginner friendly movements that you should master before you move on into more higher, more complex movements. Today we're working on hinging and squatting positions with the kettlebell, and then more warrior 2 and lateral lunge movements with the steel mace. If you're curious as to why you should get started with these tools, I think they're amazing for beginners. If you're new to lifting weights, if you only have this at home, it's very accessible and there's a way to continue to progress the movements over years and years of practice. All right? We're focusing on the lower body today to build our hip strength, our posterior chain, our glutes, and the ability for us to have a strong foundation in the hips. If you deal with low back pain or instability in the knee joint or things like this, these types of movements are going to help you start to stabilize the hips, strengthen them, and also be able to up level your movement so you can feel better more often. All right, let's break down these 5 movements. You can either watch or grab yourself your kettlebell and mace, and let's get started. Here we go. Starting out with exercise number 1, a lateral lunge with the steel mace. We're doing switches with the arms. So take that wide-legged stance. You'll hinge the hips backward, bending that one knee. With the mace, you're taking the handle back behind your hip, and then the globe is right underneath your shoulder. Here's how you make it a little bit more dynamic. You can always increase the speed over time. Stepping one foot out and gently landing on that bent knee and then pressing off to come back to center. This is a great exercise to start training both the length and the strength of the adductor of that straight leg. Here it is from the side. As you can see, we're hinging the hips back. That way the knee stays over the toe and we're really working that glute. All right, exercise number 2, we have warrior 2 lunges. So we start in that reverse guard position with the arms, and then we reach the mace up and overhead. This trains the paraspinals. You're keeping your back leg glute engaged and then bending and straightening the front leg. This is going to work your open hip position. To add on, we'll add a more dynamic variation where you open up the hip, land on the bent knee, and then press off back into that standing position. This will really begin to work the outer hip strength, the glute strength, and being able to move in different directions through space. Quick tip on the knee. So we're wanting to keep the front knee tracking over the toe. A way to find this, take your fist, press your knee against your fist. You'll feel that external rotation. This will help you avoid the knee caving in. So again, take it, press it, and avoid that coming inwards. That is the proper warrior 2 position that will really help you open up those hips over time. Next up, we have our goblet squats with the kettlebell. So we're standing upright, our elbows are locked in, feet are a little bit wider than hip width apart. We squat down and then we stand up. Squatting down, driving through the heels to stand up. You do not have to go as low as I'm going in this, just go as low as feels comfortable for you. You're trying to keep your spine as upright as possible. One thing to note, if your heels lift when you bend, you can elevate your heels by standing on some sort of an elevated surface with the heels, then driving up. That will help the weight lean a little bit more into the quads and help you achieve a bit more depth comfortably. Second level is to take the kettlebell a little bit higher, so you're looking in between the handles like so. As you squat down and stand up, you'll feel your core activate. All right, next up we have the kettlebell deadlift. So this is how to not pick up the kettlebell. rounding at the spine, bending your knees. Instead, we'll soften the knees, hinge at the hips, spine is nice and long, hips reaching back, grab the kettlebell, and then stand straight up. This is the kettlebell deadlift. So we're hinging back like you're trying to close a door with your butt behind you and then driving through the feet, squeezing your glutes at the top. Notice here, I am tilting my chin up. We want to avoid that and keep our chin gently drawn downwards so that our head and our tail are in one nice long line. That is a proper deadlift. Lastly, slide those shoulders away from your ears. Try not to create tension in the traps. Kettlebell deadlifts, you can always increase your weight usually more with these deadlifts than you can with the squats. Give it a try. Next up, we'll step 1 foot back so your toe is in line with your heel. This is called a staggered or a B stance. You'll hinge down, grab hold of the kettlebell, and then stand straight up. We want most of our weight to be in that front foot. Really hinge back, and then drive up, squeezing the front leg glute. All of these hinging patterns are really working your hamstring and your glutes. From a front view, we want our knee to be tracking right over the toe. So for some people, we really need to be pressing out because otherwise it'll cave in like you just saw. Alrighty, so that is the staggered stance RDL if you're really trying to target the glute on that front leg. The final progression and beautiful work for our hips is a single leg deadlift. So same thing, you can take that staggered stance, and then as you hinge forward, let your back leg lift up off the ground and then set it back. Again, we're finding length in the hamstring and then engaging the hamstring and glute at the top. One thing to note to avoid is to don't allow your hips to stack, but rather keep them parallel to one another. These are all amazing movements for the hips, beginner friendly. Please give them a try and let me know how they feel in the comments down below.